Today, we're going to look at a really cool and kind of simple way to think about what's going on inside your head. We're calling it the brain's balancing act. Have you ever felt like you're being pulled in two different directions at once? Like part of your brain is just completely overwhelmed with some big emotion, stress, excitement, whatever, and the other part is desperately trying to focus and think straight. It's this crazy internal tug of war. And yeah, we've all been there. Okay, so what if I told you that whole feeling comes down to plumbing? Seriously, picture your brain as this big, complex plumbing system. Your emotions, they're like the water pressure building up in a tank. And your thoughts? That's the water itself, flowing through the pipes. And pretty much your entire mental state, right at this very moment, depends on the balance between that pressure and that flow. All right, so let's get into it. Section 1, pressure versus flow. So this whole plumbing thing, it's not just a cute analogy. It's actually a real framework called the Brain Kinematics Model, and it's trying to explain consciousness itself. The theory basically says our mental state is this constant dance between emotional pressure, which it calls vertical strain, and the flow of our thoughts and memories, which it calls horizontal strain flow. Just think pressure versus flow. Okay, so who's in charge of this whole system? Well, the model says there are two main players in the brain running this whole balancing act. And this is where it gets super interesting. We've got the amygdala, which is basically our pressure tank. Its job is to absorb and hang on to all that emotional energy, that vertical strain. Then you've got the hippocampus. That's our flow regulator. It's the one directing traffic, turning that emotional energy into thoughts, memories, ideas. That's our horizontal flow. So you see the trade-off, right? One stores the pressure, the other lets it flow. Now, if you could track the activity of that pressure tank and that flow regulator, you could literally map out your mental state in real time. And that's exactly what this model does with something called the strain balance map. So here it is, the strain balance map. It breaks our mental state down into three main zones, all based on that pressure-flow balance. You've got low dynamics, intermediate dynamics, and high dynamics. And each one feels, well, completely different. Let's walk through them. First, let's look at the low dynamics zone. This is when your pressure tank, the amygdala, is totally full, but the flow regulator, the hippocampus, has turned the tap way down. The pipes are basically clogged. You know this feeling. It's fatigue, it's feeling totally suppressed or apathetic. Your brain is just storing all this emotional energy with nowhere for it to go. Then you have the complete opposite, the high dynamic zone. Here, the flow is just gushing. Thoughts are moving so fast that the pressure tank can't absorb anything. The whole system is overflowing. Now, this can be a good thing, right? Like a sudden burst of inspiration or a creative breakthrough. But it can also be stress, anxiety, even a full-blown panic attack. And right in the middle of those two extremes, you find this sweet spot, the intermediate zone. This is where everything just clicks. Emotional pressure and cognitive flow are perfectly in sync. The system's in harmony. This is that feeling of calm, focused awareness. It's where creativity really happens. It's basically the brain's happy place, the ideal state you want to be in. But here's the thing. We're never stuck in one zone for long. Our brain is always moving, always shifting between these states. It's the natural rhythm of consciousness. Just think about your average day, right? You wake up, you're kind of in that low dynamic zone, moving slowly into the intermediate zone as you get your coffee and start to focus. Then, bam, a deadline hits, or you get a brilliant idea, and you're shot right into that high dynamic zone. But you can't live there. Eventually, after that peak, you crash. The system needs to recover, and you land back in that low-energy, fatigued state. It's a totally normal cycle. And this whole balancing act isn't just about how you feel moment to moment. It's playing out across different timelines. In the short term, yeah, it's your immediate reactions, your attention span. But in the medium term, over hours and days, it's how you actually form and store memories. And in the long term, we're talking your entire life, this balance is what shapes your personality, your whole emotional vibe. So you might be wondering, what's the point of all this? Why is the brain working so hard to keep this system in check? Well, that brings us to the big payoff, the reason for the whole dance. It's what the source material calls the convenient corner. I mean, this balance is at the heart of everything. It's literally the engine that creates memories, connecting emotions to events. It's the source code for creativity, turning that built-up pressure into something new. It's how we regulate our emotions, period. And get this, dreaming? That's not just random brain static. It's the brain's nightly tune-up, the system's way of hitting the reset button and getting back to that perfect, balanced state. And that brings us back to that incredible phrase, the convenient corner of consciousness. That's what our brain is always aiming for. It's not just about feeling happy or calm, it's about getting to this perfect point of balance where real insight, harmony, and even meaning, that's where they're born. So, that leaves us with just one last question for you. Using this new map of your mind, just for a second, check in with yourself. Where are you on the map right now? Are you in that low-flow fatigued zone? Or are you in that high-flow rush of stress or inspiration? Or maybe, just maybe, you're in that sweet spot, that convenient corner of calm focus. It's a whole new way to understand what's going on inside your own head.